What's going on, guys? Billy here, and today we're going to be discussing drone crashes. Now, this is probably every pilot's biggest fear, as these drones are fairly expensive and are super delicate. Even the slightest crash could damage it. What inspired me to make this video was all of the Reddit posts that I saw on Christmas Day of people who had first gotten their drones and had already crashed them. Now, if you do crash these drones, as I said, they are fairly delicate. The gimbal can break, the landing gear can break, your propeller can break. A propeller is not that bad of a thing to break, you can just simply replace it. But if your gimbal does break, you're pretty much screwed and you have to send it away to be repaired. Now, the tips that I'm going to be giving in this video are going to be geared towards beginners, as I know that during this Christmas season, a lot of people have gotten their first drones. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. The first tip that I can give you guys is to always fly with your sensors turned on. Now, there are three modes on most DJI drones. You have ATTI mode, standard mode, and sport mode. In ATTI mode and sport mode, you're not going to be able to fly with the sensors turned on. If you're flying straight towards a tree, there's going to be no avoiding it. It's going to go right into the branches. But if you do have the standard mode or P mode on, the sensors will be enabled and will make sure that you don't run into anything. Before I go any further talking about sensors, I must mention that there are only a few drones on the market that have the ability to avoid obstacles. For example, the Phantom 4 Pro, the Phantom 4, as well as the Mavic Pro, all made by DJI, have the ability to avoid obstacles with the sensors that are located on multiple sides of the body. Taking a look at the bodies of the drones that we have just mentioned, starting off with the Phantom 4 Pro, we have 5-way obstacle avoidance. We have sensors along the front, sensors along the back, sensors along the bottom, as well as infrared sensors on both sides of the drone. One small caveat about the sensors along the side of the drone is that they don't work when flying in standard mode. You need to be in either beginner or tripod mode for these sensors to be enabled. Moving on to the Mavic, we have less sensors available on this body than on the Phantom 4 Pro. We have sensors along the front as well as sensors along the bottom that help us land. There's no sensors along the side or the back, so you have to be careful when flying backwards. If you want to make sure that your sensors are turned on and working properly, you can go under aircraft status and then go to vision sensors to make sure that everything is working normal. Now, if you want to tweak the settings of these vision sensors, you can click in the top right where there are 3 little dots to open your advanced settings. From there, go to the visual navigation settings tab and tweak the settings as you please. Here I've got an example clip for you guys of the sensors in action. This is when I was filming this big mansion, and it's actually abandoned. Well, it's not abandoned, it's for sale, but nobody lives here, so I took advantage of it. And as you can see, I get super close. I thought I was going to clear it, but the sensors didn't, so it stopped me. And honestly, I think it's for the good because I think I might have crashed. The next tip that I have for you guys is to always keep your drone in sight. Now, I know it's the cool thing to fly your drone super far away and say, oh, look how far my drone can fly. But once it gets out of your sight, that's when things go bad. For example, once you get too far away, the transmission starts to become weak and the video gets choppy on your display screen, and it also drops in resolution. So when you were streaming at 1080p when your drone was in sight, it now drops down to 720p, making things less visible. So you could miss a tree that has no leaves on it, and you could also miss a power line hanging over a road. Now, I'm not going to lie, I have done this before. I think that everyone has at least once or twice just to see how far it can go and to really push the limits. But again, this is a really good way to crash your drone, and you don't want to lose something that's so expensive. Moving along to my third tip, I would tell you guys to always check your surroundings and do this 2 times. First of all, once you get there, set your drone down and do a little survey of the area with your eyes. Make sure there's no power lines or short trees that you may run into when taking off. From there, send your drone up into the sky around 200 to 300 feet and do a little survey through the screen and make sure there's no taller buildings or taller trees that you may run into. Here I've got an example clip for you guys back when I was filming in Stone Harbor with my Phantom 4. As you can see, there are plenty of power lines that I could potentially hit, so I took off nice and slow, maneuvered around them, and went up to my desired altitude. From here, I neglected to do my 360 spin. I started backing up and I stopped myself. I said maybe I should check what's behind me. I spun around, and sure enough, there was a radio tower or a cell tower that I couldn't see from the ground. So as you can see, this 360 spin once you get up in the air is fairly vital. Now for my fourth tip, I would tell you guys to always fly forward. Now this is fairly situational. If you're trying to get from point A to point B, there's really no reason to fly backwards, and I would always suggest to fly forwards. This way you can check on your phone to make sure that you're not going to run into anything. If you're flying backwards, of course, if you have the Phantom 4 Pro, you have those obstacle sensors in the back, but you don't have the luxury of seeing what's actually in front of you. Now, as I said, this is fairly situational, so if you are trying to get a shot where you need to fly backwards, by all means, go for it. But again, make sure you do a 360 spin to make sure you don't run into anything. Coming in with my fifth and final tip, it's fairly simple and it's just to practice. Now, whether you're a veteran or you're a beginner, honestly, you can benefit from just heading out to an open field and testing out the different settings as well as getting acclimated to the controls. Now in my case, I have plenty of different fields around me that I can choose from to practice my flying, and whenever I go out, I like to focus on a few different skills. The things that I've really been focusing on recently are the handling of my drone when I'm flying fast, taking smoother shots, and intelligent flight modes. Now, intelligent flight modes really do have a learning curve, and there's a lot to them. So I would say go out to a practice field and test them out. There's a lot of different settings that you can tweak, so make sure that you have them just right. So when you actually have to go out into the field and film, you'll be ready. Now, as far as taking smooth shots, they really don't have to be of anything special. I go to a big field with a big tree in the middle, and I practice smooth shot taking from there, such as taking point of interest shots on my own with the sticks, and taking nice long swooping shots with the gimbal. So that about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two about how to avoid crashing your drone. Now, if you're one of those people who have already crashed your drone, I'm very sorry, but make sure you take these tips and apply them to the next time that you fly. But again, that is about all. Definitely leave a like if you liked, and subscribe if you're new around here, as I have been trying to upload daily, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.